Today, the British economy was hours away from what could have been one of the most serious financial crises in decades, a run on pension funds. And if the Bank of England hadn't intervened by buying up government bonds, there could have been mass insolvencies by this afternoon. Do you take responsibility?
No, the Bank of England did its job. The Bank of England intervened in the market to ensure financial stability. That is exactly what the independent Bank of England is there to do, and I think the market has responded positively to that. So I think we should all be very pleased the Bank of England has done that. What we're focused on as a government is making sure the economy grows, making sure that businesses do well, making sure people can get into better paid jobs. That was the point of our growth plan last week, and that's what we're focused on delivering.
I think everyone can agree that it is good news that there was an intervention. But I guess the thing is why they felt the need to intervene in the first place. And in the 5 days since the budget, a third of residential mortgages have been pulled from the market. Interest rates are now predicted to double next year. I mean, that could mean people losing their homes. And it's self-inflicted. It's a budget that decided to prioritise helping the one group of people who don't need help, those on over £150,000 a year. Are you going to change course?
Well, no, we're not. Let me just first of all take the point about what the event on Friday, the Chancellor's statement, was designed to do. So to be clear, the abolition of the additional rate, the 45p tax band, constituted less than 1/20th, less than 5% of the fiscal firepower that was deployed. Things like the national insurance tax cut, bringing forward the cut to the basic rate of income tax and holding down corporation tax for businesses, big and small alike, benefit everybody. I mean, there are 30 million workers who benefit from those national insurance and income tax decreases. It was an event, a statement designed to help everybody in the country directly, and by getting the economy to grow, it will help everybody as well. Now, you made a point before that about, has this caused the volatility in the market? And I think if you just take a step back and look at the markets, whether that's currency markets or bond markets, interest rates, over the last year or so, and the last 9 months in particular, globally, we've seen quite a lot of volatility.
I'm going to have to come at you there because, you're talking about global forces, but it is clear that the UK is an outlier here. Let's just look at the yield now on 30-year... Just let me finish. Look at the yield on 30-year government bonds. This is the cost of UK borrowing, effectively the bedrock of these pension funds that the Bank of England had to intervene to try and support.
Well, I'm not sure this is...
The UK is a clear outlier.
So I'm not sure this chart's going to be up to date. I looked at bond yields before coming in, and the US bond rates and UK bond rates are pretty, I don't know where they got, pretty close together, right?
That is up to date. You can see it dropping a little bit, but you can see the huge increase. The red line is shooting ahead of the others. And you're talking about global forces.
Well, you also talked about interest rates, right? I mean, if you look at the interest rate cycle, across the globe, interest rates are increasing. They're actually higher in the United States than they are in the United Kingdom. So I think we are looking at global changes, global volatility. It's been happening not just in the last few days, it's been happening in the last few months. I mean, the Bank of Japan made an intervention in their currency market just a few days ago, and we're responding to these same global forces. But what the government is focusing on, because obviously the monetary policy is the independent Bank of England's preserve, what we're focusing on as a government is growth, is making sure our economy is freed up to create the jobs of the future, to create better paid jobs as well. And that's what the growth plan is designed to do. We've also, so you mentioned inflation, interest rates, we've also intervened decisively in the energy markets to make sure that households don't face bills of £3,000, £4,000, £5,000 this winter, which was forecast just a few weeks ago. We're making sure the average household doesn't pay more than £2,500. That is a huge intervention that will help every single household in this country and every business as well.
I accept it's a huge intervention, but this is partly why the markets are concerned, isn't it? Because, look, you've got this huge intervention on the one hand, you've got tax cuts on the other, and you haven't told them how you're going to pay for it. Why did you not publish the OBR? Why didn't you even bother to get your sums done?
That's why the Chancellor of the Exchequer has said very clearly, he said it on Friday and he said it again on Monday, just in case anyone missed it, that there will be a full medium-term financial plan, medium-term fiscal plan, set out on the 23rd of November that will explain what his plans are, but it will include getting debt over GDP down over the medium term. It'll be fully scored by the OBR. And we should also just keep in mind that we start today with the second lowest debt to GDP ratio of any G7 country. But I think the question you've just asked will get very clearly and comprehensively answered, including an independent OBR score, on November the 23rd.
OK, I want to ask you a bit more about that in a minute, but just before we do, because it's really interesting talking to you, it's pretty clear that you are not changing course. You're effectively pushing on. There's going to be no reversal of what the plan of the government is.
No, not at all. Because getting Britain's economy growing is so important to raise wages important to pay the tax bills of the future.
My point is, why do you think you were wrong and so many other people are... You were right, sorry. Yeah, there we go. Why do you think you were right and so many people are wrong? I just want to look, because here's the International Monetary Fund. They've said, given the elevated inflation pressures in many countries, including the UK, your point, we do not recommend large and untargeted fiscal packages at this juncture, as it's important that fiscal policy does not work at cross purposes to monetary policy. And they go on to say the nature of the UK measures will likely increase inequality. A really clear message there from the IMF against your plans. And it's not just them. The former Bank of England Deputy Governor Charlie Bean said the budget went catastrophically wrong. The chief economist at Capital Economics. The idea is going to spur on economic growth, I find difficult to believe. Even Julian Jessup of the IEA, usually someone who's quite pro-Liz Truss, even I can't put a positive spin on this. Why is the government so confident that you're right and everyone else is wrong? What do you know that we don't?
Well, first of all, getting growth going is critically important to our country's future.
People question it will.
Let me just answer the question. Look, if you look at our growth in recent years, it needs to be higher. Higher growth leads to more jobs, better pay, and it makes us more able to pay the tax bills of the future to fund the NHS, health, police, and so on. And that's why the growth plan is so important. It is, of course, also important to be fiscally responsible, which is why the medium-term fiscal plan and the accompanying OBR scoring is going to be set out in full on the 23rd. But, you know, if you look at the reaction to the statement, the Chancellor's statement, Kwasi Kwarteng's statement on Friday, look at the response of people like the CBI, the Confederation of British Industry. Look at the response of people like the Federation of Small Businesses or the British Chambers of Commerce. They all really strongly welcomed these packages and these measures because they understand it will help their members, the businesses who create jobs and who pay taxes. It'll help them grow. And it's their opinion, I think, and it's the way that their members respond to this that I think is the most important thing here.
Kwasi Kwarteng said on Sunday there's more to come. Are you planning more tax cuts?
I think Kwasi Kwarteng is planning to lay out our approach to getting the country's finances responsibly managed in his medium-term fiscal plan on November the 23rd. That is what we should be focusing on. I don't expect that to involve significant measures on the tax side. It'll be looking at our long-term fiscal prognosis.
OK. So if you're looking at the long-term fiscal sustainability, and it's not going to be so much about tax, the elephant in the room is spending. Are you going to be cutting spending?
Look, we're going to be... So first of all, it's really important to say we are going to be sticking within the existing spending envelope. That's the Comprehensive Spending Review 2021 envelope set out a year or so ago. That is very important because we're going to live within those means.
So that means spending
they make sure...
doesn't it?
Well, no, you can look at it yourself. You'll see what it sets out. It means that public services are properly and responsibly funded.
But with inflation going up, tax changes that you want to see, it means spending cuts, doesn't it?
Well, the Comprehensive Spending Review set out the spending envelope. We are going to stick to that spending envelope, which makes sure public services are properly and responsibly funded. Beyond that, we're going to make sure that in the medium term, that debt to GDP figure, which is already the second lowest in the G7, is on a downward trajectory over the medium term. That is the responsible thing to do, and that's what the Chancellor Kwasi Kwarteng will be doing on November the 23rd.
My colleague Sam Coates says the Cabinet have already been asked to find efficiency savings. Is that true?
Well, the government always wants to operate more efficiently. We want to make sure that our taxpayers' money paid by our neighbours, my constituents, is spent as well as possible, and that it's prioritised towards projects which deliver growth. Infrastructure, for example. We talked a lot about getting more infrastructure built. So obviously we're constantly looking at that. But I want to emphasise again, we're going to be sticking to the existing spending envelope, which was set out a year ago. It covers a 3-year period. We're in the first of those 3 years now. It makes sure public services are properly and responsibly funded, and we're sticking to that.
So it's pretty clear that you say you're sticking to the envelopes, but with inflation, that is going to mean a squeeze for many different departments, real terms cut. You're also...
Well, don't forget, this spending review, by the way, did entail real term increases when it was written, so just keep that in mind.
But that was before inflation went to 10%.
Yeah, although inflation affecting the public sector isn't as high as 10% for various reasons we can get into if you want.
OK, let's not do that, although I'm sure that many head teachers and hospitals will still be looking at the energy bills that they're facing.
But of course, hospitals and schools are beneficiaries of the business energy price guarantee as much as you and I as individuals are as well.
OK, now, You're not going to. I just want to have a little look at the recent polls that we've seen as well, because this is something that a lot of your colleagues are going to be concerned about. They're going to have a look at the market reaction to the budget, and they're also going to be looking at things like this, which is, the latest polling showing record Labour leads up at 45% for Labour, the Conservatives on 28%. You speak to your colleagues. Is it right that letters of no confidence in the Prime Minister have already started going in?
Well, certainly haven't heard about that, and I'd be astonished if that was true. Look, what matters isn't a snap opinion poll done on a particular day of the week in September.
It's not. It's a longer-term trend than that, though, isn't it?
I'll tell you what the longer-term trend is going to be. The longer-term trend is going to be getting growth going, which the growth plan will deliver. And when that delivers higher growth for this country, we're going to see wages going up, we're going to see more and better jobs getting created, we're going to see a more sustainable tax base to fund public services. That is what I think the public want and expect to see. And when that growth plan delivers in the fullness of time, I think the public will be enthusiastic about that, as people like the British Chambers as people like the British Chambers of Commerce, the Federation of Small Businesses and the Confederation of British Industry are enthusiastic about it already.
Two very quick questions to end, because we are out of time. Are you going to recall Parliament?
Well, that's not my decision. I haven't heard that being discussed. We've got party conferences going on. That's not my job to decide that, but I haven't heard that suggested.
And also, where is Liz Truss?
Well, I met Liz Truss in number 10 Downing Street about an hour ago.
Do you not think that she should be out reassuring people when we're about to see a run on pension funds, when the Bank of England's had to step in? Why haven't we heard from her?
Well, Liz Truss is busy, running the country. She's busy setting our policies. We were discussing the medium-term fiscal plan with her, the Chancellor, and I, and she's getting on with her job as you would expect her to be.
OK, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.